Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to be talking Arknights Endfield, more importantly the blueprint kind of drama, if you even really want to call it that. And I just wanted to give my 2 cents on it. So I watched Chaotik's video going over like his viewpoint and some of the different things that he was kind of voicing to the community, and there's a lot of sentiment that I feel like is good for us as content creators to kind of talk about. And I think he did a really good job just kind of giving a good idea of like, yes, we can have discussion and we can have like different opinions, but let's be civil and let's kind of talk about it. Let's like point it out if there is issues. But we're getting to a point where a lot of people are becoming like extremists or elitists, whatever word you really want to use. And it's becoming kind of exhausting to see a lot of different, not just Arknights, but different communities just going through and just being like, oh, it should be this way. Oh, it needs to be this way. Oh, it totally sucks if it's this way. And it just comes to an end where I wanted to kind of talk about my thoughts and process on the blueprint as somebody who really likes the aspect of the game. Like, I love the building of it. I like building my own stuff. I thought it was really cool, and I spent a lot of time doing it. So I wanted to give my take because I don't think blueprints are like the end all be all. It's kind of one of those things, at least from my perspective, that if you want to use them, then great. If you don't, then you don't have to. You can kind of just go through and do your own thing. Because like for a lot of this stuff, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm not going to worry about efficiency for every little thing because I kind of want to play with it. I want to see what's going on with it, and I want to experience stuff because that was the funnest stuff to me. Now, is that going to be the funnest stuff to somebody else who wants to do the combat or the story? Well, probably not. So maybe they want to do something where they have a blueprint because they're just like, well, I want to make this material because I need to, you know? So it's like one of those things where, you know, we kind of have to like give a little bit when it comes to like how people are going to play and how people are going to experience things. And it's okay if we're not totally on board with it because it's just one of those, you know, QR things or like quality of life things that ends up kind of happening over time. And it just feels like it's one of those like discussions that are a little bit like, okay, well, you know, I can see both points. Like I can see people wanting other people to be challenged and for people to like, you know, we shouldn't dumb down content all the time for everybody and all this different stuff. But at the end of the day, they want to be accessible to a lot of different people. And this is one of the ways to do it. The other thing I wanted to talk about with blueprints that I feel like could even help you as a person is right here in this video where we're taking it and we're like copy and pasting it, or even having a scenario where you can have multiple bases. And there's a lot of stuff that happens at the very beginning where you need like kind of a similar setup to kind of get it going in like, you know, the other side of like the world or whatever. So then what you can do is you can take a blueprint or like whatever you made and you can blueprint it, and then you can just apply it over there. So then you don't have to recreate all the machines and every setup and remember every single thing that you did. Because for example, what if this little area is like so far advanced that you kind of forgot how to set up like from the initial start point, and then you open up like another little factory and you're like, oh, well, I need this, 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 and this because it's like the basic stuff to get it started. Well, you have a blueprint of stuff that you did personally and you can keep doing it. Or like, you know, you have this intricate system here. Well, I can copy this and blueprint it, and then I can make it on the other side or whatever. So it's like, it's one of those things where I like stuff that allows me to like start to kind of forget a little bit because it's like, it's a lot of information to remember when you get to a point where you're advancing and you have all these like really technical aspects, and then be like, oh yeah, how did I do this before? I need this. I haven't been making whatever material because I haven't needed it. Now I need it. Now I need to go back and kind of remember. Now, a lot of people would say, okay, well then that's on you. You should refigure it out. That's part of the fun and all that. So I definitely understand that, but I think just make it a little bit more accessible, even from the standpoint of like having us make our own blueprints. And maybe that's not even really the issue a lot of people have. I think honestly, the issue a lot of people have is something like this, where it's just so massive that nobody has to think about how to make this because it's shareable. Now, I think that big issue is right there is where a lot of people are saying, well, it's shareable. You know, I can download it and I don't have to think anything about it. I can just plop it down and there it is. You know what I mean? So it's one of those things where now nobody has to do anything because they just have to wait for someone else to put it up, and then there you go. But I would argue that's almost similar to just watching a YouTuber do a run on Arknights. There's a lot of people who like to play Arknights and maybe they like to challenge themselves and they like to go through the challenging stuff. But if they get stuck, well, they're going to go to YouTube and they're going to watch a YouTuber do it. And then they're going to be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And then there's some people who like to just get the currencies and they like to beat the stuff. So what they do is they just watch the YouTubers run and then they just, you know, fill in the content. Like, that's why a lot of these YouTubers have like, you know, low rarity runs because it's like accessible, right? It's like, how do you make this as accessible as possible? Well, you do low rarity runs because a lot of people are going to have those low rarity. So if we can make it work like that, well, then someone who's watching it can follow a tutorial and they can be able to pass the mission or whatever. So to me, it's very similar to that. So it's like, okay, well, you have a blueprint. What else are they going to do? What would be the other option if they didn't have the blueprint? Well, the other option would probably be to turn around and YouTube it. Google it. You know what I mean? So then they'll just find it and they'll copy it that way. Now you could kind of give a different like take on that. Well, at least they'd be interacting with the community. At least they'd be kind of watching a YouTuber do it. So it'd be a value there for a YouTuber to be able to, you know, come in and do that kind of stuff. And I feel like that's also like a thing you could say or an argument you could make, which would definitely help kind of like re-engage the community, because like circling through us and all that stuff. But I feel like at the end of the day, I don't necessarily mind the blueprint stuff. I think it's a way to kind of help mitigate some of the issues that people have with the game. And if there's more people playing the game, then I'm happy, man. I don't know, like this to me, building this from scratch would be dope as hell. Like I would love to do this by myself. Now, does that mean that somebody else wants to do it? Well, probably not, you know. There's times where maybe I'll use a blueprint just for the fact that like, okay, well, I've made something, I had a lot of fun with it. Well, what's the most efficient version of it? You know, there may be a time or two that I do that. It's kind of like, I don't know, there for a while in Arknights, I wouldn't use supports. I thought it was fun to do it by myself. That's an extra added challenge that I could put myself on. Now, I never said anything about people who use supports in Arknights because it was okay. If you wanted to use supports, whatever, I don't really care. But I was doing it as a self-inflicted challenge because I could, you know, borrow somebody like Saria, or, you know, at the time I didn't have like a Mudrock or like a Surtur or like anything like that. I've done a couple of things where I've done Silver Ash. I still don't have Silver Ash, and I could have, you know, got him for a couple of different things, and I have done that because I've gotten to a point where I played for like 10 hours on a challenge. I'm like, damn, dude, I can't do this any other way, or at least I can't think of another way to do it, and so I, you know, got Silver Ash or whatever. So there's things where it's like you can bash your head against the wall, you can try to do stuff like this by yourself, and that's great. If you want to, that's fun. But it's one of those things where we're getting to a point where it's like we're blurring the line of like what we like to do versus what someone else likes to do, and then we're not liking what someone else likes to do or whatever. It's like, if you don't want to use the blueprints, then don't use the blueprints. I don't know. You know what I mean? You can have self-inflicted challenges that allow you to have fun and explore the game. It's like, at the end of the day, it's basically a single player game. Yes, you can have interactions online and you can do stuff with the blueprints, but like if you want to make this stuff and you want to do it the way you want to do it, that's great. If somebody wants to plop this down and they just want to be able to make the materials and stuff like that, I feel like they shouldn't be restricted, you know? So it's just one of those things where I feel like it could help us out as just individuals who like the challenge. Like I was talking about earlier, memory, you know, having a little bit of memory about it, maybe copy and duplicating stuff. That's really cool. I think that's a cool feature. And I think that's a quality of life that a lot of people are going to like at the end of the day. If you want to copy a bunch of stuff and you want to paste it, I think that's cool. I like copy and pasting, you know, but some people like to do the mechanical way. They like to like actually build it out every single time. You know, I don't know if it's more challenging that way or whatever. Maybe it feels more real, but at the end of the day, we could definitely play it the way we want. And the thing that I like that Chaotik said is just at the end of the day is we have, you know, discourse that can be had. We can talk about stuff like this, like the dodge mechanics. I know people have a little bit of issues with that. There's a couple of iterations of the game that it's went through, right? The test phase was a little bit different than the beta. This beta seems to be a little bit different than the last, and it seems that it's progressively going in a, maybe a different direction than we initially thought. And at the end of the day, that's okay. You know, if it's not exactly what we thought it was going to be, then, you know, we kind of have to work with what we're evolving into. And I personally think it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of cool mechanics that I thought had, you know, from the first combat stuff, and now there's a little bit of stuff that's a little easier, you know, a little bit less challenging. You have a different kind of dodge. Looks like you have perfect dodges and stuff like that. So it's a little different than what we initially had. And I think that's okay too. I mean, a lot of people were talking about how they like the skill expression of like, basically when you use a skill, it like freezes the time. That was fun. You know, a lot of people had a lot of interest in that, but I personally almost like it the way it is now, because I feel like it's a little bit more, you know, real time, or a little bit more, I don't know, maybe real time's not the word that I want to use there, because technically the slowdown would be real time as well, but it's a little bit more fast paced for me. And maybe that's not the message that they were given at the very beginning, but that's kind of like the pacing style that I personally like, so I'm okay with it. But if you're not, then obviously that's kind of one of those issues where it's like it kind of sucks because it evolved in a way that wasn't what you really wanted, even though you were really excited about the original, you know, iteration of the, you know, combat and stuff. So it just becomes this thing where it's like, yes, we can voice our opinions. It's very important for us to voice our opinions on stuff. It's very important for us to like say stuff we like or dislike, but I don't feel like we should go in like comments and sections and just be like attacking people. Like you could be like, ah, damn, that sucks, dude. I wish they would have had the story the way that I liked it, or the combat the way I liked it. It really sucks. I'll see if I can get into it based on like what I'm seeing now, but I was really excited for that version of the game. It's okay to be like kind of, you know, reminiscing on something that you like really were excited for. Like, damn, dude, this really changed in a way that I didn't like that. That sucks. And express that, dude. Express that. It feels good to express stuff like that, but let's not like attack each other and like, you know, go after each other. And it's the same way. You can't have a person that's like, oh, gun ho, like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever seen, I'm gonna love everything. Like, you can't have a person that loves everything either, because there's criticism that happens in games that need to be had. You know what I mean? There's a lot of content creators that are on both sides of the fence. They're either really hateful, or they're really like, this is the best thing I've ever seen. They ignore every single issue that's ever been had. You know, they're just so positive to the point where it's like, okay, well, we still have some stuff we could talk about. And I feel like it's important as a YouTuber, at least in my experience, to try to balance that, because sometimes we speak for a large, you know, vocal minority, or majority in some cases, on some different issues. And maybe it's easier for, you know, the devs to see through us or whatever. So it's important for us to kind of talk about some different issues if we agree with them. So I just kind of want to make this video in kind of conjunction of, you know, Chaotik's video, and kind of give the same sentiment that, hey, I think it's important that we have the discourse, we have conversation, but let's try to figure out a way to do it constructively, in a way that we can actually do it to where everybody can enjoy the way they want to play, and we can do some different things. Because like I said, I feel like you can self-inflict challenge, man. There's ways to self-inflict challenges on these games, and I don't think we're going to have any issue with that. Arknights has been doing that for a long time. The community's been doing that for a long time. People who do low tier runs, they do like just certain kind of class runs. They do like, there's a lot of ways that we can self-inflict when it comes to the challenging and the suffering we have in these games, guys. I don't think we're going to have any issue as an Arknights, you know, community doing that kind of stuff. But that's pretty much all I had for you guys. Let me know down in the comments what you think, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good rest of your night, guys. Peace.